Okay, so here we go with our first example. Write each percent as a fraction or a mixed number. So you got to remember what they're asking for here. So we started as a percent, and 5%. Okay, this is the really cool thing. Percent, right? For the words percent, Percent. It's a word, rather, single word. But I broke it in the middle for a reason. That means for every 100. Percent means for every 100. So that means this is 5 out of every 100. Or, this is kind of cool. Watch this. You ready? That means 5 over 100. Same thing. So percent means out of 100. So 5 out of 100. And you guys all know how to reduce fractions. At least I hope you do. So you just reduce it. So now, sometimes we have them bigger than 1, right? 125%. That means 125 out of 100. Then reduce it. I'm okay with you leaving it improper. You don't have to go mixed number if you don't want to. So there you go. So let me show you one more. So if I give you 51%, you would say, well, it's 51 out of 100. Well, that's not a very good 100. But you can't reduce that, so boom, done. How you like that? So percent means out of 100. All right, go back to class kick, work one. And or a few rather, I think, then come back and check them. So you had 3 of them. 58% means 58 out of 100, which is a fraction you can reduce. You don't care what method you use. Use the cake method, use the division method, but you know these are both divisible by 2, right? And that means it becomes 29 out of 50. There you go. That's pretty cool, huh? Alrighty, so B, 72% means 72 out of 100. Reduce that, 18/25. Again, I don't care what method you use, throw it in the cake, do whatever. 144%. 144 out of 100. And again, that does obviously reduce to, well, they're showing 1 and 11/25. But that would be what, 36/25, I think, once you reduce it. You know, you can put them in the cake, reduce by division, in this case by 4, right? And there you go. That's what we're looking for. Keep on watching this video for another example. All right, so writing a percent as a decimal. I like this one. This is easy. They're showing a little more work than I think it has to be. They say, so here there's a word problem, right? The California Valley quail population in California increases about 1.5% each year. Write 1.5% as a decimal. Okay, so here's the trick. Percents look bigger than decimals. So if you can remember that, because they're out of 100, percents look bigger than decimals. So if I have 1.5%, you bump it to the left. And that's how we turn it into a decimal, so 0.015. I'll give you another example. 25% as a decimal. Your decimal starts here. You bump it 2 to the left, so it's 0.25 as a decimal. If I give you 113%, the decimal starts here, boom, boom, right? Becomes 1.13 as a decimal. So percent to decimal, because decimals are small, bump it 2 to the left, because left is smaller. Or like they show, divide by 100. It's your choice. I mean, either way is fine. But again, bump it to the left, boom, there you go. Pause here, head back to class kick, and work a few. All right, it wants us to write 62.5% as a decimal. So we said percent to decimal, 2 to the left. So it becomes 0.625 as a decimal. Now the thing is, I don't want to see when you give me an answer on homework or a quiz or a test, I want to see this. I want to see your work, right? But I don't want to see this still in your answer. Rewrite it. Take the extra half a second and rewrite it so it looks nice, so I understand what you're doing. And make sure you get rid of the percent sign when you move it. Alrighty, part B. About 45% of the people in the U.S. have type O blood. What is this percent as a decimal and as a fraction in simplest form? Okay, so we know, we just learned this. So 45% is a decimal. 2 to the left, boom, 0.45. Now, we also remember 45% means 45 out of 100. That's what we just learned what that meant, right? You reduce that, that becomes 9/20. These are both divisible by 5, so there you go. Quick check 2. Continue for more examples. Okay, now this one's a little more. It's writing a decimal, actually no it's not, as a decimal as a percent. And I was thinking of something else anyway. So write a decimal as a percent, rewrite the decimal as a fraction with a denominator of 100, then as a fraction as a percent, right? So on and so forth. You know what? Let's go the easy way. So another way is to just bump the decimal point 2 places. So the idea is a decimal is small, right? And a percent is bigger. So, to make it bigger, you go to the right. So if I give you, let's see where they start here, 0.333, and they want it as a percent. Boom, boom, to the right, 33.3, and then add the percent sign. Another example, let me move this out of the way here. If I gave you 2.6, you would bump it 2 to the right. Boom, boom. And so that would be 260%. Don't forget to add your 0 there. So again, any 2. If it's a decimal and it goes to a percent, doesn't matter how it starts. If I have 0.03, 2 to the right, it becomes 3%. 2 to the right, decimal to percent. All right, pause, go back to class kick, work a few. Alrighty, so we're going to rewrite each of these as a percent. So if I start out with 0.4, well, it's technically 0.40, isn't it? So 2 to the right becomes 40. Don't forget to add your percent sign. B, 0.023. Boom, boom, 2 to the right. That becomes 2.3%. And then 1.75. Boom, boom, 2 to the right, 175%. There you go. Continue for still more examples. Alrighty, now then, this one requires a hair more work. This is writing a fraction as a percent. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to divide first, top divided by bottom. So we're going to take the, in this case, 5/16, and you divide it. That's 5 divided by 16. Put your decimal in there. It ends up being 0.3125. You don't believe me, you can check it. So now that turns my fraction, right, into a percent. Now, in order to make that, it turns into a decimal. In order to make that 0.3125 into a percent, we bump the decimal 2 places, and it becomes 31.25%. Okay? 31.25%. So this one's multiple steps. Got to divide to make it to a decimal, because we know how to do that, right? And we've been practicing that forever. And then you have to bump the 2 from the decimal to turn it into the percent. Go back to class kick, work a couple. Looks like I only gave you one. 3 out of 11 families in the United States own cats. Oh, weird. To the nearest, cats smell bad. To the nearest percent, what percent of family own cats? So it says here we have 3 out of, oh, for Pete's sake. There we go. It says we have 3 out of 11. So you're going to take that 3 and divide it by 11. And that's going to give you 0.2727. Forever, never, never, right? It's repeating. So, again, we were writing that as a percent. So, 2 to the right, that becomes 27 point, you could say about 3, if you're going to round it, percent. There you go. One more I want to cover with you, which, kind of goes as a, it's normally, if you go decimal to fraction, you could actually go decimal to percent, right, and turn the percent to fraction. So if I gave you the following, if I gave you 0.26, right, you could turn that into a percent, which would be 26%. Oops, sorry about that, which would be 26%. percent. And then we know that we can turn that, right? 26% means 26 out of 100, right? Percent. And then reduce that to 13/50. So I know I didn't give you an example like that, but I think it's kind of implicit that you're able to make that jump from one to the next. A shortcut way of really thinking about it is you don't say 0.26. That's not the rules. You say 26 hundredths. Remember all your decimal places. If I give you this, right, like this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, right, millionths, 10 millionths, so on and so forth. So you don't say 26.26. You say 26 hundredths. Right? So it's kind of this one where I went from decimal to percent and percent to fraction. You can go straight to the fraction if you remember how to say them, and then reduce it and still get the same 13/50. So again, your book doesn't actually give that example, but you still have to do it for me. So I thought I'd just kind of cover that for you, because I'm assuming you can put the pieces together, but you never know. So alrighty, and one more look at these two things. They are in your Schoology. And I'm probably going to hopefully remember to link them in your class kick, but these are in your Schoology account, so you can click on them, see them, and all that. And you should have written it already, one or both, on the back of your vocab notes. You do have access to those to kind of remind you.